Over or under? A simple question with a profitable answer. Welcome back to the podcast daily. It is Thursday. That is Bill Landis, and I am Austin Ward. And yes, it's time to diversify our investments. It's not a stock watch. It's even more profitable because you can put real units on these bets. They're not made up Bill Landis over and unders. These are direct from real live sports books. He's Bill Landis. I'm Austin Ward. Let's get into it.
I like it because we're going to have some betting specific content here on the channel. And this is what went in the whistle a little bit.
Yeah. So these are season long over unders that I have stumbled upon. We're not paid by a sports book, so I won't name where you can find them, but I urge you to shop around and find the best one. There will be, as you mentioned, Bill, a gambling show coming later. Doug and I are going to get into that with Ohio State, Indiana specific, but these are year long, Bill. They didn't have one for sack totals, so you can't smash the over on that. But some of these are, I think, quite tantalizing. And we're going to start with one that I know what Berm's answers already were going to be. He doesn't even need to be on the show. Travion Henderson has two over-under totals that you can wager American currency on. And the rushing yardage is 975.5 yards, Bill.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I that's a question of like durability to me, I think, more than anything else, because if he plays in every game, he's gonna get that rather comfortably. So then you're asking me, like, do you think he's gonna play in every game? And like, yeah, I think he will. I think his injury stuff's behind him. So he shattered that his freshman year, right? What do you have, almost 1,400 yards his freshman year? Yeah, I'd go over on that. That seems like very good value there. Travion Henderson to get 976 or better. Yeah, I'm in on that.
Now, again, as you said, this may well be a matter that's determined by his health. If he's fully healthy, Travion Henderson is getting 1,000 yards quite comfortably, in my mind. Mm-hmm. I don't see any way around it, and especially in a world where we anticipate maybe on Saturday a team that has to run the ball or wants to run the ball to ease in the quarterback situation and get through week one. Like, could be a lot of opportunities. I think Berm's bold P's are probably going to have Travion getting 220% of this total out of the way by Saturday at 8:00. Like, I think that's a realistic outcome in my mind. And you knock that chunk out, you cruise through Youngstown State and Western Kentucky, and then still probably get a heavy workload against Notre Dame. Again, it does come back to health, but man, everything we're hearing about Travion throughout camp and probably the amount of touches he's going to have over the course of the season, that number, I was frankly surprised to see that it wasn't over 1,000 yards.
1,000 yards seems, it's like the base. I feel like it's a base output, which is like as crazy as it might sound for any college player. For Travion Henderson in a fully healthy season, I think he's like a 20 touch a game guy. He's going to average his yards per carry average. I think is going to get him there quite comfortably. So I'm smashing that number with a lot of faith that Travion Henderson is going to be more like the guy we saw as a freshman 2 years ago, not hindered by the injury, focal point of the offense, consistent runner, more explosive runner than he was last year. He's probably going to put up a handful of like 60, 70 yard runs throughout the course of the season, which helps you get to this number, I think, rather easily. So even in a world where they are going to share the rock a little bit, and I do think they will, like Mayan Williams will get his, Chip Trayanum, Dallin Hayden, Evan Pryor, we'll have to see. It's not going to be a bell cow situation. I don't think Travion's rushing for like 2,000 the way that J.K. Dobbins did, but I think he is probably comfortably between 1,100 and 1,400 as long as he is healthy throughout the season.
All right, so the second total for Travion is not quite maybe as much of a no-brainer in my mind, but it still wasn't the total that I expected it to be. It is 10.5 touchdowns, Bill. 10.5 over/under touchdowns.
See, now that's interesting because I do think you could encounter a situation where Travion gets vultured a little bit. Maybe he works him down there, and then you throw in Mayan Williams for his physicality to get it over the goal line. Obviously, Ohio State throws the ball in the red zone quite a bit. Do you have in front of you how many touchdowns he had 2 years ago as a freshman?
I don't, but I will get it for you right now while you talk about the Ohio State Buckeyes.
I'm sorry to put you on the spot for it. I can look it up as well. 10.5
What
is
if
like,
what if I had been prepared for this episode when I was the one that came up with the topic? Maybe that would have been
no,
helpful for you.
it's fine. You're doing a lot. He had 15 touchdowns as a true freshman.
Okay.
1,248 rushing yards and 15 touchdowns as a true freshman. These are rushing specific. This does not include potential receiving touchdowns for this prop bet.
Yes. Just 10.5 rushing touchdowns.
10.5 rushing touchdowns. Yeah, I think if I had to pick, I think I would pick over on that. I might stay away from something like that though, because I do think there's enough of we're gonna throw it down there. There's enough of like pop pass to a Mecca, get Mayan Williams in the game. Chip Trainum's a big physical runner too. Like maybe in a season where Travion would otherwise have something in the neighborhood of like 15 rushing touchdowns, maybe he ends up with more like 8 or 9.
Yeah, I mean, Ohio State was once more than willing to use Master Teague as a hammer down there with good reasons. Nobody wanted to tackle him at the goal line. That's the same thing applies to Mayan Williams and Chip Trainum. I think there will be some vulturing going on. That's a total that maybe by November we look back and laugh because he could easily bust off 2 80-yard touchdown runs against Youngstown State and like be well on his way. But I think of those two, I'd be much more willing to jump on the yardage total than the touchdowns.
Yeah, me too. Did Berm say that someone was going to break the single season rushing touchdown record, or am I misremembering that?
Well, I think he said that Travion was going to break every record that's ever been held by an Ohio State running back this year.
He's going to win 2 Heisman trophies this year.
Incidentally, there are now Doak Walker odds posted, and Travion is plus 1,000 for that. He's not the leading candidate, but he's in the top 4 or 5.
Yeah, that seems like interesting value. That's tough for me too, because like I said, I don't think he's going to get quite the workload necessary for that. But I think even that he's that high is interesting, because I don't know, like that him being that high in the Doak Walker Award odds doesn't necessarily line up with the rushing yard total that they have.
It sure doesn't, and it makes you think. Makes you think somebody knows something, or they think that they do. But that's where the opportunity arises.
That's right.
To get rich. I was debating in my mind. So the next two are both the receivers. And these are so easy in my mind. Let's do them. We'll save Marvin Harrison for last. Those might be a little more challenging. Emeka's seem like way too good to be true. Crazy town banana pants. Emeka Egbuka, 950.5 yards. That's where he's at. That to me says, here's some free money. Would you like it? And I would say, yes, thank you very much.
So Emeka is going to have 200 fewer receiving yards than he had last year?
That's correct.
Yeah, I think that's not going to happen. I think he's probably more likely to have 200 more receiving yards than he had last year. This is quarterback, right? Is this a quarterback question? Like, are they going to be as good at that position as they were last year when CJ Stroud was dotting up Marvin Harrison and Emeka? Like, maybe. I guess I could see it that way. But I'm certainly not putting any money on the notion that Emeka Egbuka is going to have fewer than 1,000 receiving yards this year.
Yeah, I was like, did they miss something? Is the decimal point in the wrong point? Like, did they think he was going to have 9,000 yards? Like, that can't be right. Like, you don't think he's going to have 1,000 yards after last season when he like didn't have his entire body was broken down? Like, again, if you want to say that this is a matter of health and you want to be conservative with the estimate, fine. But he wasn't healthy a year ago and he still crushed that. It's like that.
Yeah.
I could not believe that one. That was like a free bonus bet to get people in the door.
Yeah, and he'll also probably, like, in a world where Marvin's going to get like triple teamed, which actually isn't going to happen, I don't think, but Marvin will be getting a lot of attention. Emeka will be the benefactor of that.
Yeah, and Travion might be too, but that's why when we get to the Marvin one, I think there's maybe a little bit more conversation to be had about it. Emeka has a touchdown total as well, and it is 8.5, Bill.
Yeah, I'm pretty comfortably over on that too. He had 10 last year. Is that right? 10 last year. Yeah, I think he's closer to like 15 this year. I don't. It's hard for me to envision any world where Emeka has a statistical drop, like at any like. I don't. He's gonna have, I think, more catches, more receiving yards, more touchdowns, and probably even a few more rushing touches than he had last year too. So, if you're gonna set the bar for lower than his output last year, I will take the over every time.
Boy, more pop pass and end around conversation. I am loving where
There
your
you
head
go.
is at right now, Bill. If you're curious, I had not seen him posted before. This particular fit had Heisman Trophy odds for Emeka Egbuka plus 10,000. So if you wanted to pop a bean on that and win 1,000, that's certainly an option for people that are out there.
Might be worth $1. Yeah.
Yeah, there are worse ways to spend a bean. All right. Marvin Harrison Jr., the preeminent returning wide receiver in the country. He is projected, according to the over-under of receiving yards, 1,150.5.
Yeah. It's a good number. I think I mean, well, I said in bowl predictions that he's going to break Jackson's record, so like I'm over. I have to be over. Am I actually putting money behind my bowl predictions? Probably not. There's a reason that they're bowl predictions. So I think over. Like, again, I don't know that I believe that Marvin is going to be worse off production wise this year. I think he'll have improvements across the board. It's just a matter of how large are they? Is he more like 1,300 yards and not flirting with Jackson's record? I think is the question in my mind. Not is he going to be able to match what he did last year? So I'd go over on that as well.
I feel like this is incredibly dumb, but if I was wagering units, I think I might be a little bit scared of that number. I didn't check, and I should have. If this counts the college football playoff in like a player's entire season, not just the regular season, well, that'd be very different because I think that all of these totals would be smashed quite easily by the Buckeyes. So I assume, and maybe I'm wrong to assume that these are for the regular season only. Again, maybe I should have taken a closer look. You always want to read the fine print on these gambling apps and make sure that you know what you're doing with your hard-earned currency. But let's just to say, even if it is 12 regular season games, I mean, he's got to average nearly just a touch under 100 yards per game to get to that point. And I don't know, as you said early on, if he's getting double and maybe shaded coverage that borders on triple coverage, that's going to be tough. And I think he's willing to and more than capable of still getting the football in those scenarios because no one can cover him, even with a lot of help. But the easier money in that situation for Kyle McCord or Devin Brown is the other side of the field or flipping it out to a running back or using Cade Stover. Like that, there's going to be easy throws and easy opportunities for Ohio State to move the ball if that happens. Now, maybe that'll change over the course of the year, and teams will say, oh, well, we can't just do this with Marvin Harrison because we're getting killed by everybody else out there. And then his numbers balance out a little bit. I don't know. That we'll have to see how that plays out. But that's a really high bar to clear just because even if he does do some of the stuff in the slot or he gets involved in end arounds and pop passes, like because Ohio State wants to get him involved so heavily in the offense, like that still seems like a lot to me. I'm a little bit more hesitant on that one than the others.
I think that's fair. I mean, I don't disagree with anything you said. I do think that whatever increased attention he might see that could perhaps cut down maybe on his total number of catches, could perhaps be balanced out by the fact that he will be playing in the slot more this year. I wish I had a better handle on how much he was going to play there because that would greatly influence my decision here. But I think he'll be there more than he was last year and maybe something like 25% of the time, which gives him added opportunities to run after the catch. And that's where you can make up some of that missing yardage that maybe you don't get because you can't throw the 25-yard out to him all the time because he's got two guys over him. So it's hard. Like I think, again, this is maybe one that I would or most likely stay away from. But if I had to make a choice on either side of it, I think I'd still go over.
All right. His touchdown total, Bill, is 11.5.
Over. The record I think is 17, right? I think he probably breaks that this year after having 14 last year. I guess it's easier to throw bodies at him when you're down near the red zone, but he's such a threat down there that I think he gets a little bit of work that way, and then obviously he can score no matter where the ball is on the field because he can run away from people too. So I'm over there. I don't think he's walking away with fewer touchdowns than he had last year.
No, I think this one's easy. Like, for whatever I think the yardage might be more of a gamble that he might give up there with the double and triple coverage. When they get in the red zone and you have to finish off drives, you throw to the best receiver in America. Like, that's going to happen a lot in my estimation. And those are the ones I think about, like the alien catch against Michigan State. Like, those can come from just outside the red zone as well, 25 yards, 30 yards, and one-on-one matchups where he gets loose. Like, Ryan Day is also pretty good scheming up route concepts and opportunities to exploit coverage. So maybe I'm not giving enough credit to that they'll find creative ways to, even if teams want to throw extra bodies at him, that they won't be able to, whether that's formations or those different concepts that we've seen with, in crossing routes, whatever. Like, I don't know. I'm not an offensive coordinating genius and a play calling expert like Ryan Day, but I feel like he's had 9 months to prepare, and maybe even more than that, for what they wanted to do with Jackson Smith and Jigba a year ago. Like, this is what teams are going to do to try and take him away. Well, here's how it's not going to work. Like, Ryan Day's not going to live in a world where he's like, oh, they just have the best decoy in America. No, I don't think that's going to happen either.
No, I think that dynamic will exist, right? I think he will at times, and not decoys probably not the right word because I feel like you're selling Marv short, but he will open up things for other players, definitely. But this is an offense that I think will revolve around what you want to do with Marv. In the same way the plan was to do that with Jackson Smith and Jigba last year. So there are, and we like they teased us a little bit, like with the end around that they did against Indiana last year. How much do you want to expose him on that stuff? I think is a question worth asking yourself, but it's at least there. Like, they at least believe he can do those kind of things. So there are other ways to get the football in his hands outside of, throwing him the free 18-yard hitch on the sideline every play.
Free 18 yards. What a world we live in. Imagine Ohio State 20 years ago saying anything like that. Yeah,
I mean, it's real though, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Just going to get 3rd and 10, no problem. Not even worried about it. These are not over. Yeah, I know. It's crazy. Not over unders, but I thought they were interesting discussion points. About a month ago, Berman and I were talking about the Heisman Trophy odds and how he foolishly took Quinn Ewers at a pretty short price. The Heisman odds for Kyle McCord and Devin Brown have changed since then. And Kyle McCord is now plus 1,600. That is about 600 or so shorter odds than where they were a month ago, when at that point Marvin Harrison was slightly the top favorite for Ohio State. Devin Brown closed for a little bit in the middle of camp. Maybe Vegas was spying on practice during that first scrimmage. I don't know. And thought, well, this is a good time to shorten these odds up before we get burned. Now he is back to plus 7,500, which I was surprised by the disparity in that, because Ryan Day is out publicly on Tuesday saying, going to play both guys and they're going to evaluate for several weeks. The same things that we've been talking about all week and for the last couple of weeks, really. The margin between the two of those is actually the largest that it's been in probably like 2 months.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's just the assumption that, like, Kyle is actually the starter, and not that what Ryan Day is saying isn't true, or that playing Devin Brown is a little bit of a sham, but like, Ryan Day did also say that there was at least a little bit of separation, and that's why he chose Kyle as a starter. So I guess you're banking on that, although those odds probably changed before he said those words exactly. And you're also, too, you're not, I think Ohio State fans are probably a little more discerning when looking at those odds. The more general college football fan is probably just more aware of Kyle McCord and assuming that he was going to be that guy. So that's why his odds are what they are compared to Devin's. I don't know that I don't love either one of them to win a Heisman Trophy. If I'm picking a Heisman Trophy candidate on this team, it's Marvin. But I don't know. The quarterback more often than not is going to have the statistical production that you need to be in that conversation, clearly. But I think every now and then it sets up that you can kind of look past that and appreciate a guy like Marvin for what he is and put him on that pedestal. And I think that's what's going to happen.
You can also get some odds for the Mackey Award, Bill. And Cade Stover is plus 2,000 to be the best tight end in America, which normally I would think was pretty tantalizing because I think that there's a good chance that he'll be among the semifinalists and the finalists, but this is also still a world where Brock Bowers exists, and
yeah,
you probably don't want to bet against him winning it.
Yeah. No, I would not do that. I won't pretend to have like a great lay of the land for other tight ends. I know like Syracuse has a good one. Michigan's got a couple that are intriguing. Penn State's got a good one. I'm sure they're very obvious ones that I'm missing, but yeah, as long as Brock Bowers is walking this planet and playing in football games, I'm not betting against him to win the Mackey Award.
What if Ohio State starts running end arounds and pop passes to Cade Stover?
You know what? I don't think I'd be in favor of that. No offense to Cade. There are more explosive guys to do that with. I'm sure Cade will get you a couple, but I'd rather have, like a Mecca get me 70.
What if the Zach Boren, Cade Stover quarterback package gets used?
Then we're on to something. If you can demonstrate positional versatility as a tight end to the extent that you're also playing quarterback, then I think you have a shot at winning the Mackey Award. And maybe the Davey O'Brien, who knows?
Ooh, I don't know if that combination, I do know. I'm sure that combination has never been achieved in college football awards history. So
probably not.
Something for Ryan Day to think about. Keenan Bailey, just go out there and give that sales pitch. Look what they've done at Ohio State. So there's a shelf life on these bets, like all. The opener for Ohio State, thank God, is Saturday at 3:30. So if you wanted to get some season-long over and unders, wherever you might want to wager, if you are in a part of America where you're allowed to do so, maybe this helps, maybe not. I think that a lot of these were probably pretty obvious to Ohio State fans, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, probably. But, well, some of them, like the Emeka stuff in particular, like that's, I don't want to tell people how to spend their money, but I might be spending some money on those.
That's just a gift from the gambling gods. Like,
yeah.
Maybe we're talking about it too much, but
maybe.
If Bill, if you're going to do that before we shift the line, because we are so influential with the amount of money that we wager.
That's right. Well, I gotta hurry up and do that because it is Thursday morning already.
Yeah, amen. A glorious Thursday in Columbus, Ohio, 2 days away from kickoff. Cannot wait. Thanks for moving a little bit closer with us by listening or watching Thursday's episode of the Podcast Daily. Hope you enjoyed it. If not, we'll try again tomorrow. That's Bill. I'm Austin. We'll talk to you later.